Men often lose not by weakness of the body, but by betrayal of their own tongue. Today, we shall expose 10 moments, 10 silent assassins, where your own mouth betrays you. The problem: most people speak before thinking, and in doing so, they surrender their power, their mystery, and their respect. You will learn when silence is your greatest weapon, and how speech can become your executioner. In the court of men, where every word is weighed like gold, the tongue is both crown and noose. The wise ruler learns early control of speech is control of fate. Let us now examine 10 situations where your mouth, if left unguarded, becomes your most loyal traitor. In the game of power, the mouth is often the first gate to fall. Not the walls of your castle, not the armor you wear around your heart, but your mouth, the softest part of your defense. It speaks when it should observe, it reveals when it should conceal, and it pleads when it should command. A man may conquer nations with his mind, yet lose everything through a single careless sentence. The tragedy of most men is not that they are betrayed by others, but that they betray themselves every time they open their mouths. A ruler's greatest weakness is not in his armies, his gold, or his throne. It is in his tongue, that small, restless serpent that seeks to prove, to impress, to justify. The mouth cannot keep a secret, it longs for applause. And that hunger for validation is the birthplace of downfall. For every time you speak to be understood, you surrender a fragment of mystery. And mystery, my friend, is power. The more they understand you, the easier it becomes to predict you. And once they can predict you, they can destroy you. Men believe they lose power through failure or defeat. But more often, it leaks through conversation. You reveal your ambition to one man, your fear to another, your resentment to a friend. And soon, your entire character lies naked in the hands of others. They know where to strike, what to offer, what to withhold. You have armed them, word by word, with the very weapons that will one day be used against you. The wise understand this law of silence, that speech is a transaction. Every word has a cost. Each sentence you speak either adds to your influence or takes from it. When you speak unnecessarily, you spend the currency of your authority. And when that wealth is depleted, even your wisdom loses weight. A man who talks too much is like a merchant who throws gold into the streets. Admired for a moment, then mocked for his ruin. Observe the powerful. They are not the ones who speak the most, but those who choose their moments with precision. Their silence is not emptiness. It is calculation. They listen longer than others, not out of politeness, but strategy. Every word they release is sharpened like a blade, deliberate and exact. Because they understand, the mouth is not meant to express everything one feels. It is meant to protect what one builds. When a fool speaks, he gives birth to his own downfall. When a wise man speaks, he births a legend. The difference lies not in the voice, but in the restraint behind it. You can measure a man's strength by how easily he can remain silent under provocation. Anyone can roar in anger, anyone can shout when insulted, but only a master of himself can respond with stillness. That stillness terrifies others, because silence, when used with purpose, is louder than rage. People fear silence because it forces them to face their own thoughts. That is why most men talk endlessly, to fill the void within. They mistake noise for confidence, yet every word they release reveals more about their insecurity. The man who cannot stay silent exposes his inner poverty. The one who can rules the room without needing to speak. In every council, in every meeting, in every conflict, the silent man is the one everyone watches. For silence demands interpretation, and interpretation gives birth to power. Even your friends, even your allies, must not know the full extent of your mind. Give them fragments, never the whole picture. Speak enough to be understood, never enough to be predictable. Because predictability is a death sentence for the ambitious. The man who can be rid can be manipulated, but the man who hides his intent behind quiet composure becomes untouchable. His silence unsettles others, drives them to reveal their own weaknesses first. And while they expose themselves in speech, he collects their truths in silence. Understand this. The world belongs not to those who shout the loudest, but to those who can master the art of quiet dominance. To govern one's mouth is to govern perception itself. What others think of you, how they measure your worth, how they react to your presence, all are shaped by what you do not say. The moment you speak freely, you surrender control of that image. And once perception escapes your grip, you are no longer the author of your own legend. Your mouth, therefore, is not merely a tool for communication. It is the border of your empire. Guard it as a fortress. For every careless word is a crack in its walls. One confession, one emotional outburst, one misplaced opinion. And the enemy does not need spies or weapons. He needs only your own honesty to destroy you. The man who cannot keep his mouth disciplined will always serve those who can. This is why the masters of history spoke less and achieved more. Caesar, Napoleon, Machiavelli himself. They understood the power of controlled speech. They spoke with intention, every word serving a purpose, every pause carrying meaning. They let others reveal their minds first, and from that knowledge they constructed victory. You see, silence is not passivity. It is observation, preparation, and strategy disguised as restraint. When you walk into a room, remember this truth. The first man to speak is often the first to lose advantage. Let others rush to expose their motives. Let them argue, boast, and justify. You, meanwhile, listen, not to reply, but to assess. For information is power, and silence is the net that gathers it. Control your mouth, and you will see the world unravel before you, revealing its true motives in the chatter of others. Every word you speak is a coin spent from the treasury of your power. Some men speak as if words were free. But those who understand influence know the truth. Each syllable is a transaction, each confession a cost. Power, reputation, and mystery are built not by what you say, but by what you withhold. The world listens to your words like merchants in a market, weighing their value, their meaning, and what they reveal about you. And if you are careless, your speech becomes a clearance sale of your soul. The tongue is greedy by nature. It loves to pour itself into the air, to fill silence, to seek validation, to impress, to prove. Yet every unnecessary word drains the vault of your authority. When a man speaks too much, he loses the ability to command attention. The more one explains, the less one is believed. The more one argues, the less one is respected. Words, like currency, lose value when inflated. This is why the wise speak less and achieve more. Their words carry weight because they are rare, deliberate, and measured. Imagine two men entering a room. One begins talking immediately. His opinions spill like spilled wine, staining the floor of conversation. The other stands still, watching, listening. He observes tone, posture, silence. When he finally speaks, his words cut through the noise like a blade through silk. The crowd listens, not because his voice is loud, but because he spent his words wisely. This is the economy of influence. The fewer the words, the greater their worth. You see, power is not built on quantity. It is built on precision. Every ruler, every strategist, every manipulator of men knows this. They never waste language. They speak as if every word will echo for a century. They measure the effect before they utter the sentence. For they understand once a word leaves your mouth, it no longer belongs to you. It becomes a weapon, one that can defend you or destroy you, depending on how it lands. The fool speaks to be heard. The wise man speaks to be obeyed. The fool fills the air with noise, the wise man fills the silence with meaning. In every kingdom, in every business, in every relationship, this law stands: words determine perception. And perception shapes reality. If your speech lacks restraint, you give others the power to define your image. But if your speech is measured, others are forced to define you in their imagination, and imagination is far more powerful than truth. The danger is subtle. You may think your words are harmless, that sharing your opinions, your plans, your feelings is simply being honest. But honesty, when given without calculation, becomes a self-inflicted wound. The world does not reward openness, it exploits it. When you reveal too much, you give others the blueprint to your behavior. They know what angers you, what flatters you, what tempts you. You have given them the manual to your manipulation. And all it cost you was a few careless sentences, even in small moments, in casual conversation, in laughter, in comfort. You pay for every unnecessary word. Gossip, complaints, confessions, they all withdraw from your account of respect. People remember your speech long after they forget your logic. They judge your value not by what you meant, but by how you made them feel. This is why restraint is not just wisdom, it is armor. Each word you hold back strengthens the walls of your image. Each word you release without thought weakens them. The great mistake of ordinary men is that they believe speech builds connection. It does, but at the cost of power. You can be loved for your openness, or you can be respected for your restraint. Rarely both. The man who wants admiration must speak. The man who seeks authority must control his speech. To be mysterious is to be feared. To be predictable is to be dismissed. Every word, therefore, must serve a purpose: to influence, to lead, or to conceal. Anything else is waste. Think of a general before battle. He does not announce every strategy to his soldiers, nor reveal his fears to his council. He speaks only to direct, to command, to focus the energy of others. His silence hides uncertainty, his words create clarity. This is how leadership operates, through selective revelation. The same applies to every human interaction. Whether you are a ruler or a common man, your voice shapes your aura. Speak rarely, but when you do, make the world pause. There is another truth few dare to admit: speech always benefits the listener more than the speaker. When you talk, you give information. When you listen, you take it. In any exchange, the one who listens longer gathers the power. He learns motives, insecurities, ambitions. He gathers material for future leverage. Meanwhile, the talker empties himself, losing his advantage word by word. To master speech, therefore, is to master silence. To know when to speak and when to withdraw your voice is the art that separates the powerful from the forgotten. Understand, silence is not emptiness. It is investment. Every moment you resist the urge to speak, your words gain interest. People begin to anticipate what you will say next. Anticipation becomes fascination, and fascination becomes control. If you speak constantly, your words lose suspense, your mind loses mystery, and your presence loses gravity. You will become like background noise, heard but never remembered. So treat your words as currency. Spend them where they bring returns, in persuasion, in strategy, in reputation. Do not spend them on comfort, on gossip, on emotion. The weak man speaks because he cannot contain his thoughts. The strong man holds them like gold, revealing them only when it serves his design. For speech is not merely communication. It is a weapon of influence, a mirror of intellect, and a test of discipline. The mouth is the mirror of the mind. Every word that escapes it reflects the hidden architecture of your thoughts, your fears, your desires, your doubts, your ambitions. Men may attempt to conceal their intentions through false smiles and polite gestures. Yet the tongue always betrays the truth. The eyes can deceive, the posture can mislead, but the mouth, It is the window through which the mind exposes itself. If you listen carefully to how a person speaks, you can see the entire structure of their soul without ever stepping inside. Your speech reveals what you truly are, far more than your appearance or your actions. The way you speak when angry, when tired, when excited, when you believe no one is judging you. Those are the moments where your mouth speaks the secrets your mind tries to bury. And so the wise man listens not just to words, but to patterns, to tone, to slips of language that leak truth. A fool, on the other hand, never realizes that his own voice betrays him. He believes he's in control of his speech, but he does not see that every sentence he utters paints a portrait of his inner instability. In the art of power, observation begins not with eyes, but with ears. Listen to a man long enough, and he will confess everything he fears. The one who constantly criticizes others reveals envy. The one who boasts too much reveals insecurity. The one who cannot stop talking about loyalty often fears betrayal. Human nature has a fatal flaw. It cannot resist revealing itself through speech. The mind leaks through the mouth like light through cracks in a wall. And those who listen without speaking collect these fragments until they can predict the entire man. The mouth is also a measuring instrument of discipline. A man who cannot control his speech cannot control his impulses, and a man without control is a danger to himself. Words are born from thought, but thought is born from emotion. So when your words run wild, your emotions are in command, not your mind. Power belongs to the one whose emotions kneel before his intellect. When you discipline your mouth, you train your entire being to obey reason instead of impulse. That is why silence feels heavy for the weak, because silence demands mastery. A disciplined mouth is a fortress of the mind. It protects your intentions from the eyes of the world. When others cannot read what you think, they cannot anticipate your move. You become unpredictable, and unpredictability is the purest form of strength. But when you speak without restraint, you make yourself transparent. The enemy does not need to spy on you, he only needs to listen. Each careless word becomes a torch that lights the path to your vulnerabilities. This is how empires, alliances, and reputations crumble. Not through grand betrayal, but through subtle confessions dressed as conversation. Pay attention to how people speak around power. The weak seek approval through words. They flatter, they over-explain. They talk themselves into corners. The powerful, however, speak as if every word is measured by the weight of consequence. Their speech is deliberate, their tone composed, their silence is intentional. They understand that language is not for release. It is for control. Every phrase they utter is a move in a psychological chess game. To the wise, speaking is not communication, it is manipulation. But the tragedy is this. Most people expose themselves without ever realizing it. They talk to impress, to prove, to fill silence. They believe that words will make them appear intelligent, but intelligence is not proven through abundance of speech. It is proven through the precision of it. The mind of a disciplined man moves slowly in conversation. He does not rush to respond, because he is measuring the battlefield of meaning. Each response is placed with intention, not to please, but to position, even when you think you are safe. Speaking to a friend, a lover, a stranger. The same rule applies. The mouth reveals what the heart hides. In moments of emotion, people confess everything they have tried to bury. Anger speaks of fear, love speaks of need, insecurity speaks of guilt. To know a person deeply, you do not need their diary. You only need to let them talk long enough. They will give you everything if you are patient enough to stay silent. This is why, for the wise, listening becomes a weapon. To listen is to read the map of another's mind. Every hesitation, every exaggeration, every contradiction. These are the fingerprints of truth. When you master this, you no longer hear words, you hear motives. The man who boasts of loyalty fears abandonment. The woman who mocks others' dreams envies courage. The one who cannot stop speaking about their moral purity carries secret shame. Speech is the confessional of the human condition. And most people walk through life broadcasting their weaknesses without even knowing it. For this reason, you must also turn your listening inward. Observe your own speech as though you are a stranger to yourself. Notice what you repeat, what you emphasize, what emotions govern your words. You will discover your hidden fears, your secret desires, and your weaknesses. To control others, you must first learn to read yourself. The one who cannot master his own mouth cannot be trusted with influence, for he will always reveal his intentions before they mature into strategy. The mouth mirrors not only the mind, but the soul's architecture. It exposes whether your foundation is built on confidence or insecurity, on wisdom or impulse. Each word is a reflection of your internal order or chaos. When you speak with precision, you project strength. When you ramble, you reveal uncertainty. The world listens and judges accordingly. People may not know why they trust or doubt you, but it is your speech that decides it. Every tone, every pause, every careless admission shapes your image in their minds long before they know your name. The greatest manipulators never rush to fill silence because they understand its value. They let others reveal themselves through speech while remaining unreadable. They gather intelligence, weigh motives, and stay composed. By the time the talkers have exhausted themselves, the silent mind already holds the upper hand. And when such a man finally chooses to speak, his words strike with the precision of a blade. Not because of their volume, but because of their scarcity. In the grand theater of human power, your mouth is both your crown and your noose. It can command loyalty or invite betrayal. It can build thrones of influence or dig graves of regret. Most men lose not because they are weak, but because they speak. They reveal their fears in anger, their plans in pride, and their insecurities in the desperate noise of self-expression. The wise understand that words are not for decoration. They are for domination. Silence is not absence. It is strategy. Every sentence you release either builds your authority or breaks it. The man who governs his tongue governs perception, and perception is the currency of control. So learn to let silence speak for you. Let others fill the air with their confessions while you stand in quiet mastery. Speak only when your words carry the weight of intention. For in this world, every utterance is an exchange, and the price of careless speech is always power. Guard your mouth as you would guard a kingdom. For the tongue has betrayed more men than the sword ever could. And remember, in the eyes of the wise, the most dangerous voicer is often the one that knows when not to speak.